Okay, so for my Studies in Literature seminar, I'm going to be doing it over the novel Fugitive Pieces. So Fugitive Pieces is a very well-crafted novel by Anne Michaels. It outlines the bonds between humans who have been through a lot together. Anyone who has read the novel will definitely agree that Jacob, Beer, and Athos Roussos have been through more than a lot together. It was Athos who saved Jacob from the Nazi genocide in Poland. And it was also Jacob who saved Athos from becoming a lost soul. So you see, they kind of saved each other, and by doing so, have developed quite a past. This is what I will be focusing primarily on for this seminar, which is the past and how it develops who we are and how we act. Okay, so before I go on to prove how the past of Jacob and Athos plays a huge role in their present character, I will show you other examples. So the past and how it relates to the present character is a huge aspect of literature, whether it be Canadian or any other culture. So this theory is shown in a number of novels. If you have taken any university English course, which is more than likely, you have already read a few of these. The Stonecarvers, which we actually read in this class, was a great novel. Both Clara and Tillman are fictional youth in the novel, and you really kind of feel sorry for them. See, at the beginning of the novel, just when you are introduced to them, roughly around page 32, I believe, Helga Becker, who is diagnosed with lethal cancer, is Clara and Tillman's mother. And she does pass away right at the beginning of the story. Now, this painful past that they both experience haunts them for the rest of the novel, throughout Stonecarvers. Tillman, as many people know, develops a habit of running off and disappearing by himself. Clara, on the other hand, suffers from depression and develops a sudden urge to visit the Vimy Ridge Memorial. These actions displayed by Clara, and especially Tillman, are no doubt reactions from a tragic past of their mother's death. So, another example that I could talk about where a character's past contributes to their development is both Macbeth and Hamlet. So Shakespeare is well known for his world-famous tragedies, therefore is a great example of my point. And it's a great example because everyone is familiar with his work. Everyone really goes through high school and has to learn about him at one point or another. So both Macbeth and Hamlet suffer, and their pasts are directly affect their characters. They are both conflicted with desire and revenge, and it is their past that drive them to develop into madmen and murderers. So I'm just going to move on from there because I don't have too much time. And I'm just going to talk about Fugitive Pieces now. So now that you're probably convinced of the importance of one past, I will begin to discuss Fugitive Pieces. So the novel, fortunately, is the best display of one's past to the development of character and personality. It shows how both Athos and Jacob are affected by the past, and how this shapes their personality. I just want to start this segment of the seminar by stating that Jacob did indeed witness the slaughter of his family by the Nazis in the Holocaust in Poland. So now that is very traumatizing for a young child to witness, just to say the least. I mean, come on, he just saw his whole family get slaughtered, and he doesn't even know where his sister is, so he's in a very, very tough predicament. So Athos has also lost someone to a genocide as well. It was his wife, though. This is mentioned on page 77 and 78. So Kostas, who is a good friend of Athos, informs Jacob about this loss, his wife's loss. Kostas then requests Jacob that he takes good care of Athos whenever he is sad or depressed. It is clear that this deeply touches Jacob because of the strong bonds that they have towards one another. So upon losing his wife, though, Athos is pretty empty and his life is considered meaningless. He wandered around Poland without a purpose, and that is when he discovered Jacob, who ran away from his family's massacre. And pretty much the way I see it, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other readers of the novel will agree, is that Jacob is a filler for the empty void that Athos felt. So many people will claim that Athos rescued Jacob from the destruction of his childhood. I actually believe that it was Jacob who rescued Athos from himself and from his loneliness. Okay, so we are all aware of how the past of Athos affected his personality. Now let's take a look at the more obvious character, Jacob. Any child who has their family murdered in a genocide, survives it, and acts the same way as before, is not a child. In fact, I wouldn't even sure I'd consider them human. This is not Jacob, however. He doesn't act the same. In fact, he is deeply changed by his past. Jacob has frequent nightmares about his ordeals, where Daphne, Costas, and Athos all have to comfort him. I recall one scene where he had a nightmare, and then they were all discussing, and all three of the adults were talking, and it kind of soothed him and helped him to fall back asleep. So this is actually a huge symptom of a deeply traumatized child, frequent nightmares of a certain predicament that they experienced. There was also another point in the novel where Jacob was sent to fetch herbs by Daphne from the backyard garden. Jacob was actually too frightened to even go out in the backyard for fear of being captured. This proves how troubled the poor child actually is. Jacob's past even affects him as an adult in the city of Toronto. After the death of Athos, he pursues a career as a poet. It is groundwork, his collection of poems, and his wife Alex that help him recover from his painful past. The last character I would discuss whose past affects her personality is the character Ben. Now Ben is not mentioned at all in the first book. He is actually in the second book, and he is actually a generation after Jacob. While Jacob was involved in the Holocaust, it was actually Ben's parents who were involved and not Ben himself. They actually survived the Holocaust though. And upon Ben reading Jacob's work, he becomes almost obsessed with it. Ben remembers when there was a flood in Toronto. His parents were warned to leave, but hid instead because of their previous experience with the Nazis. So they pretty much hid in their house when there was a flood because of fear of being captured or anything that went on in the Holocaust previously. So once again, the past of a character influences their present actions and determines how they act and who they become. So, just to start to wrap this seminar up, Fugitive Pieces shows us how someone's past determines who they become. However, because it is a novel focused around the Holocaust, everyone's past seems to shape them into paranoid people. Now, this is understandable because of all the atrocities that the Holocaust brought, from the gassings to the death camps and whatnot. You can understand why it would make people paranoid. Fugitive Pieces stands to remain my favorite piece of literature, focused on the Holocaust. This is because it is a tragedy that turns Jacob and Athos into fugitives of Poland. So they are fugitives and they escape to Athos's private island in Greece, kind of like separate from the rest of the country. And it is when they are fugitives that the novel then effectively reveals critical pieces of their character. It is this character that is determined by their past. Hence, Fugitive Pieces. When they are fugitives, it shows critical pieces of their character, and this helps shape them. So, I just want to say that is all for my seminar, and I hope you enjoyed it and learned a few things about the novel. Thank you.